afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to another session of ZEISS Conversations. We're going to keep it in house today and talk to a great staff of ambassadors. We've got some more tasks, though, some more types of photography that we're going to bring into the conversation. We're going to talk about how to get the best out of the golden hour, how to take heirloom quality photography with your clients and models, and even your family. And to speak on that, we have a great guest from the Midwest with us today. ZEISS Ambassador Amy Cyphers, who's joined us here in the center square. To your right is Tracy Page, sporting a new Sony camera there, looking really sharp. And to the left is Kenneth Hines, looking as dapper as always. And I'm Tony Wisniewski. I'm the marketing manager for ZEISS Camera Lenses here in the United States. And welcome to everybody. Welcome to you, Amy. Glad to have you here with us.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
That's awesome. If you could, Amy, just give us a little bit of your background, how you came to photography,
Mhm.
why you chose the styles that you shoot in, and just give us a little
Sure.
bit about yourself.
Sure. I got into photography, I guess in college. I was a fine arts major and fell in love with photography kind of through the dark room and just, analog back then, taking lots of film pictures, which my kids don't even know what that is. And I've been a professional photographer, meaning, I started getting paid by friends back then to take a lot of engagement photos because we were in that season of life, I guess. And then just kind of grew from there. I worked as a graphic designer for a while and still did lots of sessions on the weekends. And then when I started having kids, I stayed home and took more sessions and made my living that way doing professional photography. Lots of families, lots of seniors. I even did weddings back then before I kind of decided they weren't for me. Um, and it's been, like I said, 15 years of photography and meeting with clients, and how that's looked has changed over the years. I partnered up with Kim Bear and we've been shooting together for a few years. I still do a lot of stuff on my own, and kind of from just taking photos of people kind of evolved into teaching other people how to take photos. And really it's just become, photography is just part of who I am even daily. Just I love taking pictures of my kids. It's just my art form, it's my therapy, and I don't know, I love sharing it, and I love teaching other people, especially new moms, how to take photos, and kids. I do a lot of kids classes too. So that's what brings me a lot of joy and what it's kind of evolved into. And it's still, I mean, even through this pandemic time, I've noticed, I'm more into this or that and just taking a lot more quiet time to shoot for myself. So yeah, that's kind of, I don't know, I could go on and on, but that's
Well,
me in a nutshell.
I think
I
I
don't
think
even think I realized you were teaching kids. What age range are you teaching?
Um, I've done lots of different classes. Usually it's anywhere from like 6 to through teenagers. And we'll do classes at, we've done some at the History Museum, which is really fun in Topeka, and talked about the history of photography. And then we always do a photo walk with classes and a scavenger hunt. It's just the easiest way and the funnest way to teach the rule of thirds and teach, composition and light. And it's really, really fun just to see a kid, shoot something and be so excited about it. And I truly do think when you can teach somebody, especially kids, how to see through a camera lens, you really are teaching them how to see the world in a different way and appreciate beauty. So it's a lot of fun to do that. I love teaching kids, especially.
I kind of think that's how we first met. Actually, was you were teaching some things,
Yeah.
and we started talking about
Uh-huh.
how that works and transitioning you over to different equipment. Yeah, and so that's kind of
Yeah.
one of the things that I always liked is really the style you brought to your teaching. It's really striking. It evokes a lot of emotion in the frame, which is something that I'm always interested in and really want to expand
Yeah.
upon when talking with others. So.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it's always my goal to capture the connection and emotion within my sessions, and even just my kids, just, not having the camera be something that they notice, but something that they can forget about, and, making real moments happen and then capturing them. It's really important to me.
Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. And I
Absolutely.
truly think, like, through this pandemic, that is what I've missed the most, is just connecting with people and capturing that. We're starting to do some sessions again, but
I was gonna ask of
you
how
go,
you were kind of going through that. How was that
yeah,
a kind of?
yeah. Well, definitely for a while, it was just, nobody, everything was shut down, and I wouldn't even think about taking a session. And then, especially with like my ZEISS 135, you don't have to be close to people. And just now, before a session saying, I'm not going to fix your hair or touch you. I'm going to, because I always, when I'm shooting, am like, oh, moving things for people, and just kind of changing how I do things has been different. But I realized through, especially March, April, May, when things were very just, we weren't shooting much, how much I really missed it. I think you forget how much you love something when you do it all the time. And I was just like, man, I just really miss people and taking emotional pictures. It just made me sad, but we're coming back and been
Have you had
scheduling things. That's fun.
have you had any kind of moments during the pandemic that, in kind of being out of your element of not being around people doing the projects that you kind of used to, has it brought about
Yeah.
any kind of new ventures that you're interested in, or brought any ideas for when you're able to get back to doing that, as far as what you can try or what you can, experiment with?
Definitely. Yeah, it definitely did kind of change, I guess, how I want to, I don't want to be super busy anymore. I want to take more limited sessions, I guess. And I had those moments where I was like, man, it is nice to not be editing every single night. Um, and I liked the quiet and shooting a lot more for myself. And I especially love just taking the 40 millimeter out, because it has the close focus options, and doing, some more macro type work with my honeybees, which I didn't mention yet that I'm a beekeeper, but flowers, garden. We live out in the country, so there's always something to be found that's beautiful. And, just exploring light with the camera lens for yourself, again, it's a gift, really. So, good things happen out of hard times, I guess.
Oh, that's interesting though that you think you want to step back a little bit. That
Yeah,
that this time is, 'cause I'm like the opposite. I'm
really.
going stir crazy. I want out of my house. I want to be traveling again. I want to see my friends. I want to give hugs, and I'm
I
back
know.
at work. So it's been tough for me to be down. But it sounds like you've gone the opposite. That you found a healthier balance.
Yeah, it has felt good. And I think it has to be that way. My kids are young. I have, well, not real young. I have a 14-year-old now who will be a freshman in high school. And my boys are 12 and 9. And we were struggling with the decision on sending them back to school, or what school going to look like. And we decided to go ahead and keep them home and do homeschooling for at least the first semester. So, that right there, just, I have to not be super busy. I'm going to have to focus on their education more than taking on a lot of clients. So I've just kind of had to set those, okay, what can I handle, and set those boundaries now, just so I don't get overwhelmed, or, because it's going to be different. Life is different than it was, but not all in bad ways. And I'm looking forward to the opportunity to teach my boys at home. Charlotte's going to go to high school, but I'm sure we're going to incorporate lots of photography lessons, and hopefully I can teach a lot of other kids in our homeschool group too. So that's kind of exciting.
I've noticed that your work is changed really in the last years I've been following you. And one of the things I'm noticing is a greater balance, both in your color, your use of color, and in composition. Are you finding that this downtime is leading you to more creative thought processes?
I do think so. I think, I've just had more time to consider, oh, that would make a beautiful image, and how would I compose that, rather than shooting from the hip like I've done in the past too. And, sometimes you get really lucky that way, but definitely slowing down and considering your shot and color and, wardrobe that goes with that color. I don't know. Thank you for noticing that, though. That's
yeah.
really nice.
Well, and I think too, when you talk about shooting from the hip, I mean, in your prior business, when you guys were busy, you were both following the kids around, trying to keep up with them. And so I've noticed
sure.
you did, Tony, I don't know if you can find, it was the little girl in one of the quadrants of
I think
that
I know
image.
exactly what you're talking
Yeah,
about. Yes.
the balance, the asymmetrical balance. And this is when I try to teach balance, and I'm teaching people what it truly is, because asymmetry is different than asymmetrical balance. And I thought the asymmetrical balance of that image was really nice. But I'm noticing more that your work is evolving into really nicely balanced and nicely colored images, where your color is balanced and the weight of the image is balanced. And I've been attributing it to just not having to work at lightning speed, that you can slow down a little bit. I think you were almost there. You can slow down a little bit and think about that capture. So it's great stuff coming out.
Yeah, thank you. I think the picture you're talking about is of my niece, Josie. And was she with a kitten, or was it just her by a tree? I'm trying to remember.
Was she in a red dress, maybe?
I think it was a little gingham blue dress, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, it was just the way that it was, the negative space and the positive space. The balance was just so nice. But I'm seeing it like the picture that we've got on our screen right now. I see it in that
like
too.
That one.
It's just, I'm seeing it. I mean, that was, the other one was the one that really first drew my attention to, hey, Amy's got a really great sense of balance. And because I'm just a lover of that asymmetrical balance. And you just really, you've got a beautiful eye. So I'm noticing it more and more. And I was thinking about the fact that you're not having to chase little ones around and be quite so frantic.
Yeah, it's true.
That was it. That's it. That's the image. We got it up.
Oh, that's a nice photo. I really like that one. What lens did you use for that one? What's your go-to lens for some of the pictures that Tony has put up there?
My go-to is probably the 135 bodice lens. It's just, I don't know, it's how I see things. You know how when you use a lens all the time, that's just when you look out and see something, you know what it will look like with that lens. And that's just the one that I am always, it's probably on my camera 90% of the time.
Wow.
I just love that lens. And I'm not seeing, is it showing on, I don't have YouTube pulled up, and maybe that's my mistake. Does it show you? I can't tell what you're looking at. So.
Okay.
Oh, well, if you look at Tony's screen, the little screen, it'll show you what he's got up.
Okay. It just shows me black, and that could be my bad internet.
We were looking at the one you were talking about in the blue gingham dress.
Okay.
And then this is the one with her offset, where you're behind her in a field of flowers. Probably the same.
That's pretty too. Yeah, it's really pretty. Same gingham dress.
Yeah.
Nice image.
I love her editing. Like I love the golden color tone. So I guess it kind of feeds into kind of like some of the premise of this conversation, as far as the time of day. How important is that for you obtaining images like this? Because that's something that I really love about your photos, and having that nice golden tone is just so beautiful to me. And people have been enjoying me doing that on my pictures, and I just love that of how you apply that to your work. So how important is that, and how do you go about planning those types of projects?
Right. The light is super important to me. I mean, I feel like a good photographer should be able to shoot in any light, and I can definitely do that, just like you can do that. But I love finding that beautiful golden hour, hour before sunset light. And I know how it will look in certain areas in my yard. We live on 90 acres in the country, and so we have different, spots on our land that I like to shoot, wildflowers or trees, and I know what the light's going to look like in those areas, certain times a day, certain times a year. And I especially think, this time of year and getting near fall, the light just here in Kansas during that time is just magical. And if I don't have my camera on me, I am like, oh, where's my camera, when the light is just, just like that. And I don't know, it's just my favorite. It's always been my favorite light. So it's important for me in my work. And when I shoot family sessions, that's when I'm scheduling them, typically is golden hour.
So about how long do you have to
that.
get the family session then, if you're trying to shoot it in that hour? I mean, do you keep the whole session to that hour?
Yeah, and typically the way I like to do family sessions is to schedule, more than one during an evening, just because I don't want to have a session every evening. And so that hour might be filled with 3 or 4 families. And I try to do families quickly, just because, no offense, but dads and kids, like, they don't want to be out there for an hour of me shooting pictures. They want the shot, and then they want to go to Dairy Queen for their ice cream cone. And so I know, from 15 years of doing it, I know what shots are going to sell, what shots they want to hang on the wall, and I can get them really quickly. And then the rest of the time that we have left, 20 minutes or so, is just fun, creative time. And so I always get what I call the money shot, where mom wants everybody looking at the camera. We all, even myself, I say, I just want candid photos. But truly, I do want to see all my kids' faces smiling at least once a year in an image. So that's definitely, a goal. Like, get that shot and get the other, I get mom and dad together for sure. Because often moms and dads, I'll just pose them together and they'll say, oh, we haven't had, a photo, just us, since our wedding day. And sometimes they've been married, 10, 15 years. So it's crazy that we don't make time to do that, but that's an important image for me to take. And then always the kids together and individuals of kids. Sometimes there's grandparents there, and we always do as many pictures of the family just connecting, looking at each other. And I always say it might feel funny, but look at each other and smile, and then they end up laughing because it's weird, and it makes a good photo. So yeah.
If you're doing 3 or 4 families during that golden hour, tell me how do you schedule it so that everybody is there at the same time, and you just kind of...
No, I just kind of schedule them back to back, and I instruct them before, the sessions, hey, and they know what they're getting. We call it a heritage session, but I instruct them, hey, when you show up, I still might be photographing, this family. So stay in your car until you see them loading in their car, and then get out. And people are very respectful of that. And they always, it's amazing, when we finish with 20 or 30 minute session, they're like, oh, thank you so much for getting that done quickly. And they're done. I mean, kids, they don't want to be around for a photo shoot for a whole hour. So when I was doing sessions that were a lot longer than that time, I was ending up with way too many images that were not that they weren't sellable. They could be beautiful images, but how many do you actually need? You're not going to hang 300 on your wall. So, just condensing it, but giving them a high value product in the end. It always comes with a printed image. I don't want to throw files at people. So they always get a printed 11 by 14. And then we go from there with an order of images for their wall is kind of the goal. And if they want all the images, they can purchase them. But That's just been a way that's worked for me for a long time. And I value my time at home with my family, and I want to have supper at the dinner table. So if I can fit 3 or 4 families in a night, or sometimes more than that, then that works great for me.
So I'm one of these people that believes that images should live on walls and on desktops and should be printed and not just live in a computer. So what are the popular sizes of prints that you sell?
When we show big images, we sell big images. So I always like to show like 16 by 20s, 20 by 24s. And it seems like we go through phases of people like canvas, people like frames, it's just, so
it does change.
Yeah. I find though, if I show a grouping, here's the family image, here's the kids, here's the mom and dad, 3 to sometimes 5 in a grouping. And a lot of companies like Miller's or H&H will sell a grouping like that of canvases. That always sells really well, because then there's a purpose for them. And those, the candid shots complement the more formal shot. So I like to show them, I'll put it together before I meet with them, or I'll email them, hey, this is what I was thinking would look really good. And people really appreciate that. It just takes a little time to plug them in and say, this is what this would look like. And then you have a wall sale, and that's a lot better than, here's your, used to be on a CD, now it's a Dropbox folder. But I think that's a high value thing, and people love that. So that's always my goal, is to get them on the wall.
No, I think it's, I'm a commercial photographer, so I don't get to do that. So I wish that I got the opportunity to put more on walls, because I love prints, and I love what Miller's does. I think they're fantastic. And I love prints. I love printing. I have a big format printer here, and I love printing my own stuff now too.
That's awesome.
It's been really great, but I don't get to do that often. So I'm a little jealous.
You need to join the club. Get one of your New York shots printed like how I have behind me, Tracy. Those
but then that's just, I print for myself, but that's printing for me. That's not really,
you meant as far as clients,
right?
Gotcha.
Yeah, no. Gotcha. And I do print for myself. I've got a lot of my work on the walls. I just don't print for clients. So I didn't even know what they typically buy, because I don't sell a lot.
It's sad. It's sad. A lot of people will have gone to other photographers, before me or after me, when I've talked to them, they never did anything with those images. And it just kind of, I'm like, oh man, those were beautiful. Why didn't you do anything with them? Oh, I just stuck the thumb drive in a drawer, or, they're all on Dropbox and I just haven't downloaded them. They're all beautiful. I love them, but it's kind of a disservice not to guide them anyway into the print sale, because especially I think it's important, and I'll tell my clients this. I think it's important for kids to see their family image on the wall. I think that's good for their self-esteem. I think that's good in making them feel secure, and especially that picture of mom and dad. It can be alone. It can be, in a canvas grouping too. But that's a really important picture. And even for myself, I have a picture of me and my husband on the wall, and there are days that I have to look at it and go, all right, I like him still. He's a great guy. I love him so much. It's good to see those reminders, in your house and on your walls. And it's good for all of us, not just your kids, I guess, but everybody.
There's a comment from Larry Petroff. Thank goodness for printing during this pandemic. I am pretty much homebound, and printing is a great creative outlet for me. I have an Epson P800.
Yeah, and Greg Waterman, our ambassador, is saying hi to you, Amy.
Oh, hi, Greg.
I love it. And Greg joins us, and he says he loves horizontal portraits of one person. So I think he's shown a few of those, and I do too. I really do.
One
Yeah,
thing I
I do.
noticed about your work, Amy, and some of the photos that Tony was showing is that we shoot very similar to one another. And what I like is
I
that in some of your portraits, you include a lot of the ambiance of what's around your subjects, and that's something that I really really love when people do that. And there was one
uh-huh.
Tony had displayed where there's a family and the long trees were just, it was a aisle of trees. And I just love those types of
Yeah,
compositions because, sometimes a lot of
yeah,
photographers, one thing that I was taught when I first started was as far as your lens can zoom, that's how far you want to go. So that's what I used to do. And then after several
mm-hmm.
years, I backed off of that. I'm like, I really want to see a little bit
Yeah,
of what's going on around the people. So as far as your
uh-huh.
compositions, do you how much does that play into what you're actually capturing as far as where you're shooting specific clients and having that type of ambiance?
Right.
It seems like too, you really follow the time of the year with the seasons in your shots too, which I
Yeah,
really love.
yeah, yeah. Thank you. Nature's always been something, that's called to me. And so a lot of my work and a lot of my clients that maybe are similar to me love that too. So I think, seeing the background is part of the story and part of, your location, maybe where you live, that's really important. So I love I love including that. If I can find, beautiful fall foliage, that's where the session's going to be. I'll drive around for a long time finding what it's going to look like through the lens. Typically the 135 again, but I love having, a lot of the foreground leaves in focus with the family, and then just, it goes all blurry right behind them. And I think it's really important for composition and just focusing on your subject. Here's your subject and here's what's around them, but framing them with nature is my favorite thing to do, I guess. I like to do that. And I've noticed how you shoot too. I'm like, I would have taken, if I was in the city, I would have taken that shot too, Kenneth.
It does seem like you shoot a shallower depth of field though than Kenneth and I shoot, which I really
Mhm.
enjoy.
Yeah, I love to shoot as open as possible, just because I want my subject to be the main focus, and it's just how I see.
And so when you shoot as
Yeah.
open as possible, tell me, what are you shooting at typically?
I mean, with the family, if you can get them on the same focal plane, you can shoot 3.5, with a big family if you don't stagger them too far back. With a single subject, I'll shoot as wide as the lens will go. With the 135, that's 2.8. 85, is it? I think, is it one? I don't remember.
One
1.8.
I shoot
1.8.
it by yeah, 1.8. Um, yeah, I like to. I don't, and I guess with the lenses and with the camera I'm using, I can't remember when I've missed focus just because they're so good. It's not wide open. I know when I was first learning, cameras and lenses just weren't as good, and so you would be like going through all your images and, oh yay, there's one in focus. Now it's, if you have a blurry one, it's your mistake. It's not not the camera or the lens's fault.
And
But
you're
yeah,
shooting
it's
with an
pretty
A9 like
amazing.
me, and it's very
Yeah.
difficult to
Yep.
miss a shot. And I think about,
It,
just
it is. Yeah.
like just 8 or 10 years ago, someone had pointed out to me a camera that I used to use, an old Sony camera, had only 9 focus points. I'm like, that's all we had back then? I'm like, I can't even imagine that. I have 693 today.
Wow.
So
Yeah, I know.
so it definitely is a testament to the cameras and the lenses that we have, and like you said,
Yeah.
that it's very
Yeah.
difficult to miss a shot.
It is. And one of my favorite subjects is my honeybees, and I'll take the 40 out and, get really close. And my goal, when I'm checking beehives is always to find the queen bee, because then your hive is healthy if she's in there and laying eggs. And I just have a blast capturing those images. I think it's a lot of fun. And like you said, you can't hardly miss your shot if you know what you're focusing on. There you go. It's pretty awesome, and it's a lot of fun.
I love you keep posting where's the queen, and I'm looking at it going, yeah, I'm not looking that hard.
Yeah.
I know. How do you tell the queen? I don't think I would know if you pointed it out to me.
She's just longer. She's a little bigger and longer. But sometimes she can be really hard to find too. After, practicing for, I think I've been a beekeeper for 5 or 6 years maybe now. You can, there's 40,000 bees in there, but you can find her.
Wow.
40,000 bees. Oh my God.
In a pretty healthy hive. Yeah.
Amy, I'm diving into some of the images that you've sent me before. I think I found the queen in this picture. So
yeah, I actually think I see the queen in this one. I'm pretty impressed with myself.
Yeah, so I'm sneaking into the archive of Amy Cyphers imagery.
Oh, good. There you go. There you go.
You definitely get a lot of use out of.
Were you pointing it out to us now?
Well, I know she can't see it.
I saw your pointer move. So
oh, the pointer,
like,
yeah.
Now he's pointing the bee out to us, the queen out to us. There was one, I think, a couple of weeks ago where you said there were 2 queens, and I was amazed.
That was really cool. I'd never seen that before. And I was hopeful the next week that she would still be in there. I thought, okay, because, not to explain all about bees during a photography talk, but the queen, there's only one queen. And when they need a new queen or she's not doing well, it's all about what they're feeding the larva to create another queen. So for some reason, this hive had created another queen, and the old queen had her wings were a little bit just formed a little funny. So I don't think she could fly away. And she'll typically fly away and swarm with a group of bees, and they'll make another hive. But she's kind of stuck where she's at. So I don't know. I just checked him again, and I couldn't find her. Her name is Brinley. I know Kenneth names his cameras. I name the queen bees. And we found her at she was originally from a swarm that we caught at a house, and the little girl's name was Brinley. So that's what the queen's name is naturally, but I didn't see her. So I don't know if they, maybe off with her head. I'm not sure.
Oh no.
I know, that's nature. That's just nature. I know. That's probably why you shouldn't.
I love your adaptation of the 40 close focus though, to do some macro photography. How to get a macro shot of the bees, how close do you have to get?
I mean, you can get pretty close, and once in a while I'll do a digital zoom too. When you shoot in JPEG, you can do a little digital zooming, and that gets you even a little closer. You can, I have a bee suit on. I'm not out there just opening a hive and taking pictures. But yeah, I'm pretty close, and they don't seem to mind. They're just doing their job, and I'm just there to take some pictures and hopefully spread, awareness about bees and not putting 7 dust all over your gardens, because we don't want to kill them. But, it's just a fun hobby, and I get a lot of honey out of it. And actually, a couple years ago, a conference I guess it's a conference I like to go to, had me come talk about photographing bees. I was like, well, I just do it. I don't know how to tell beekeepers how to do it, but it was a really fun talk, because photography with beekeeping, they go hand in hand, and it's important for a hive's health even to be able to take a photo and analyze it at home, making sure that there's eggs in the cells that might be hard to see with the human eye. So yeah, it's it was a lot of fun to teach that, but it's also not just for fun. There's a purpose in taking a photo and making sure the bees are healthy. So
Yeah, Tony and I had a conversation one day about how close, if you were doing macro photography of the bees, how close you would have to get, and whether or not we'd be comfortable doing that. So
if you come to Kansas, I'll suit you up and you can come take pictures of the bees with me.
I would love that. If I'm suited up and protected, then I could probably handle it.
Yeah, definitely.
And I have a 40 close focus, so I'm already equipped. So
yeah, okay,
yeah,
good.
So we're ready to rock now. As soon as the social distancing thing is over.
Right. I feel like bee suits are one of the safest things you can wear. I mean, it's a screen, so you could still sneeze through it, but it's one of those, people have said, oh, you should wear that to Walmart. And I'm like, yeah, I'll be real safe.
You're probably already kind of distanced, so, they can't get too close to you.
Yeah, for sure. Yep. Yeah.
I was thinking I might need to wear bubble wrap, but a bee suit might work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think a bee suit would look better.
So one of my favorite of your photographs that you've done during the pandemic is the duck. Okay. How big is the duck getting now? I love this little guy.
Those ducks are huge now. I don't know if I put in a recent photo of them. I'm just looking through. They are huge. We got them right before Easter, and they stayed in the house for a little while, and I gave them baths in the sink, and of course at the right time of day that I knew the light would be really pretty.
Strategic baths in the sink.
That's just what photographers do. But yeah, they are huge and they're so fun to photograph. Even now, I mean, they're pretty friendly, so sometimes I can still get good pictures of them. But yeah, animals are just, I mean, especially during times like these, they're just so good for us, I think. And anything to take your mind off of all the bad is awesome. So I'm all about photography and animals and beekeeping and, all of that. But
well,
yeah,
I love all the things that you're about. You've still managed to stay with these really lovely color palettes and afternoon, evening light,
mm-hmm.
and your balance is still really nice. So, I mean, you're photographing everyday life, but you're doing it with a certain artistic qualities that are just really cool to watch.
Yeah, well, and like I said, I think like finding that time, even if you're not a photographer, finding that time with a camera or even your phone to go take a picture and notice details about something, it's so good for us. I mean, it just takes your mind off of, it's a break, I guess, a break for your brain to just go out and take pictures. And I love that. And I think, during times like these of uncertainty, it's just one of those, you can find something pretty every day to take a picture of. You can find gratitude daily, even if it's just that. So I think it's important and a practice that I hope I always do, just finding that light and finding that beauty and sharing it. I think that's important too, is to share. Not just your images, but how you take an image. People want to know. And I think it's good to help them because it's such a gift to be able to see through a camera lens and show other people how to do that.
You mentioned that and helping people to understand what the process is, what the workflow is. And I'm curious, I'm stalking your Instagram looking for pictures to put in the presentation here. But there's one of them that really kind of caught my eye. And it's an evening shot of your husband and one of your sons getting a last cast on. My question is about your particular workflow in capturing an image like this. Are you doing it? Are you letting the camera do the work? Are you capturing it in camera, or is there a bit of editing on the back side to really get that color palette to stand out? And there's no judgment for me, certainly. I'm just curious what your process is.
Right. I try to get in camera as best I can, because I don't want to sit behind my computer for a long time. And I've definitely created some presets in Lightroom where I can just go boom, and it's how I like it. But I typically don't recreate light or anything like that. I just see it and know what it's going to look like through the lens, and do my best to get it right in camera so I don't have to do a lot on the back end.
Great. Great. Do you find
Yeah.
that came natural to you, or is that something that you've had to develop over time?
I think naturally I've always had an eye for composition, but finding the right light, just it does take practice, and definitely depends on the lenses you're using and how light plays with them. And I really like to sometimes let it be hazy, let the sun flood in to the lens and create kind of that dreamier look. I think that's a lot of fun, and I don't know, kind of something I like to try to do. So yeah, I think maybe from years of doing it, I don't realize that it's, just not a lot of work. Maybe it is a ton of work for somebody, but for me, it's just getting the shot right and knowing I got it.
Well,
Awesome.
I think when we do this professionally, I think a lot of us can relate to what you just said, because we practice these things all the time, so they become second nature, so that we can move on to the next thing, so that we can, move on to composition, and we're not really thinking about mechanically what our camera is doing. So that makes perfect sense. You don't think about it anymore. You just kind of do that part of it.
For sure. Yeah, it's just second nature. And you have to remember that. I mean, I have to remember that when I'm teaching a class, that I might think something's really simple and somebody else is like, whoa, how did you do that? How, even putting a grid up on your camera so you can show them how to use the rule of thirds and stuff like that. You have to be conscious of, not everybody knows, that you can do that. I showed a friend of mine the other day, an elderly woman. She loves to take photos, and she takes pictures with her. She just got a new iPhone. She's never had an iPhone. So I said, if you tap on the screen, you can adjust your exposure to lighter or darker. And she was just like, oh, I didn't know you could do that. And so, people don't know that sometimes there's some simple tools that can make a huge difference in your shot. But yeah.
Absolutely. And, we're having the time to kind of sit back, kind of analyze things. Has there come up with anything that you have that you're like, when we can actually go out and get back out again, is there something on your list that you would want to photograph, or somewhere where you would want to go and photograph?
Well, I mean, I've thought about that a little bit. I just really want to photograph big families together again. I think, social distancing has been tough on grandparents, and, a lot of them haven't been able to be with their families. People stuck in nursing homes. I've thought about the friend I was just telling you about, the elderly lady. Her husband is in a nursing home, and I took photos of them a couple years ago, or probably a year ago. And it was the last time that they had their picture together, and she hardly gets to see him, now, because he's in a nursing home. So I definitely am craving that connection with people and just capturing that for them. I think, even though it might be my job, it's still a gift to be able to capture that and have it for people. But yeah, I've thought about that a lot. Like, what am I going to shoot when all this is over? And probably I've said no to giant family reunions because they scare me, but maybe I'll do some now. We'll see.
Definitely understandable. And, I think it's kind of, put up, giving people a new outlook, because I think because we are moving on such a consistent basis, we don't have time to really sit down and think about, what is it that I'm doing? Maybe I want to try something different.
Yeah.
Maybe I want to do this or that.
Yeah.
And it's
for
something
sure.
that's very valuable for people right now. So in some of the things that you've shared, and being a parent and a photographer and doing so many
Mhm.
things before, and then having this time to really
Yeah.
think about what you're doing. You've kind of given our
Yeah.
community an outlook as far as, maybe I should be thinking about, you know, things this way or
Yeah.
something.
Well, I loved your comment about bathing the duck at a certain hour so that you had the light coming into the. I do that with,
Yeah.
I'll take things out of the oven and look around the kitchen and think, oh, the light is better out of this window right now. So I'm going to go photograph it over here. So, but I haven't thought
Yeah.
about baking specifically at the golden hour. So I may have to do that.
Mhm. Yeah, you need to put them in some golden backlit, window or something. That would be pretty. Yeah, we just harvested, I think about, I don't know, 12 or 13 gallons of honey, and I got it all bottled up. And my husband keeps saying, is that for sale? And I'm like, yeah, I don't want to, I haven't had the right time to photograph it yet. And he's like, what are you talking about? Like, well, it has to be the perfect light for me to, golden honey light with my honey. Like, I know what it's going to look like in my head. So he doesn't understand why it's taking me, so long to get this photo done, that I told him, yeah, I'm going to take a picture and then I'll sell all the honey. But yeah, it's coming.
That brings
Maybe
brings
tonight. I don't know.
that
Yeah.
brings a good question. Do you use any lighting for the work that you do, or is it all just mainly natural light?
I typically use natural light. I do studio shoots sometimes with, some strobes, just because when a doctor's office needs a headshot, that's going to be the most consistent thing I can do. They want everybody's to look the same. And so I can create that over and over and over with my strobes. And there's not a lot of photographers in our area that know how to do that. So I often get called for those just simple headshot jobs. And I don't use natural light for those.
Okay.
But
Do you
I like
ever
that.
do you ever use your strobes outside to boost your natural light when you're doing families?
No, I've played with that. I guess for me, capturing the emotion and connection is way more important than getting the technically perfectly lit image. I want it lit and I want it dreamy, but I guess emotion kind of trumps the I don't know. I think
I
it
agree with
takes
you. I
takes
totally
away.
agree with you.
Yeah. I love it when I see other photographers work and they've brought strobes out into a field. I think it's beautiful. I just find it for myself cumbersome, and I think it kind of robs my creativity. And maybe that's an excuse. I don't know.
Well,
I want to
it does seem to
move.
interfere with your engagement.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that's where I connect with people the most is, just being able to, you know, go up and talk to them or move around where I want to capture something. I don't want to drag a light. But I do appreciate it when people do that. I think, wow, that's a lot of work. Good job.
No, I do too. And it makes me stop and think, should I be doing that? I do like it. But then when I'm
Right.
shooting,
Right.
it's just not what I go to. I go toward looking for
Right.
my indirect light to light my subject and seem to be
Yes.
okay doing that.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like, some of us choose to use autofocus lenses and then some like using manual lenses,
Yeah.
just
Yeah. Yep.
different strokes for different folks.
And the
Yep.
people like me that are total control freaks.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
Amy, thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure to kind of get to know you and see some of your work. And,
Yeah.
we just,
Yeah.
I think Kenneth and I are both such huge fans of your work and what you've been doing, and
Well, thanks.
watching it. It really, I mean, you were kind of like our baby and child person before the pandemic. And now I'm just watching all the different things you're shooting. And I've become such a huge fan of everything.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I love both of your work is just mind blowing to me too. I love it.
It's great to kind of have all of you here and talking from the different aspects of still trying to approach the same conversation about how to get the best emotion out of the frame when you're
Right,
composing. And
right.
it's a delight even for me as the marketing guy in a sea of photographers. I had to get that in.
We're
But
waiting
really,
for it.
but really to just kind of hear you talk about how you really bring your own passion and your own emotion to your imagery, and that's just excellent all around. I really appreciate hearing it from all of you. So, Amy,
Thank you.
you're welcome. So, Amy, happy to have you here. Glad you could stop by with us. Again, thank you so
Thanks.
much. Love the golden hour shots that you got, and we definitely want to see more duck photos as they grow up and become larger ducks, I guess, from ducklings.
We'll take some
uh,
more
Also,
photos.
and
Yes.
we didn't talk about the turkey either. We're gonna have to bring
I
that up at
know. I
another
was just going to
time.
say that we didn't get the turkey.
I,
I
I,
know. We
I
could have a whole hour to talk about Kyle.
Kyle
And
the
I
turkey.
mean, Kyle has been on Zoom calls before with classrooms. He's very famous.
That's awesome. Yeah, I did sneak a
But he's
few photos of him up, and so people got
so
to see him.
good.
So
They're not like mind-blowing photography. That was just there's Kyle because I thought Tracy wanted to see Kyle, but she wanted to see it.
Tracy gets confused these days. Tracy wasn't sure what she wanted to see.
well,
You really
She just
wanted to
talked
see
about
Kyle.
herself in the third person, so that's really bad.
but we got to see all the animals today, and that's terrific. Thank you, Amy. I
Yeah.
appreciate having you here. Tracy and Kenneth, as always, thank you for taking us through the conversation. Loved having you here. And hey, everybody, we're glad that you came too. We're happy to have you with us in these conversations. And we're going to keep bringing them to you week after week. So make sure to check your email, check your Instagram, and see what's coming up in the future. We'll do this again next week and have everybody here.